So I just made a video about motherly love, and I'm gonna link it here. I want to talk about the other privilege that most Western societies and societies that had structured themselves to function in a law-abiding, equality-seeking, love-inducing, where usually it's not a child marriage kind of situation where women are forced into marriage with men they despise, and then they have children that they don't like because they remind them of their husbands that they are their number one enemies usually. So a society like that is gonna produce children that are more likely to have never experienced love, not understand love, not seen love, and therefore not feel it. And I used the example of Harry Potter. I used Harry Potter. And the backstory of Voldemort being conceived in unnatural ways using love potion that made him unable to love, which I think J.K. Rowling captured amazingly well. And I like using popular media because if it resonated and rang true to so many people, like those millions of children that read Harry Potter or saw Harry Potter. I remember reading and understanding that, and it resonated with me, right? It rang true. So if we go by this instinct and we follow that, I want to bring another show. Frieren Beyond the Journey's End, or Sousou no Frieren in Japanese, is a Japanese manga series written by Kanahito Yamada and illustrated by Tsukasa Abe. Taking place in a fantasy world, the story follows Frieren, an elven mage. Frieren's elven nature grants her an extremely long lifespan. The story thus takes place across a long time with periodic flashbacks. Here's another thing that I want to say that we take for granted in the West, and those are jails. Jails are a luxury. Now I'm going to put that point aside and I want to dive into the story of Frieren. Like, comment, subscribe. This video is probably, I don't think it's going to get monetized, so I have a buy me coffee link below if you guys want to support me, and thanks for watching. So this show is about an elf that is traveling around the world, just living her long, continue yourself life. And the big advantage that she has as an elf is that she has a long memory of kind of characteristic and types of creatures that live in this world, including demons. And she knows that during her 1,000 years of existence, every time that someone decided that maybe it's time to give the demons a chance, they had regretted it. And I wanna bring a very special someone to tie it all up. And that is, I'm gonna show him in my thumbnail, Yahya Sinwar. He was jailed, but he should not have been jailed. He should have been dealt with in a completely different way. And he was released because they had a hostage, Gilad Shalit, and he got released by Israel because of that, to get that soldier back with a lot of others, and that ended up costing thousands of lives in the Israeli society. So, but still, some people never learn. I'm crazy like this. Anyway, if you want to see me talk about that, I recommend that video where I talk about the enemies from within in the Israeli society, because we have those too. There are 3 timelines in this show that are relevant to understanding who the demons are. First timeline, that is the oldest, is when she was younger, where her teacher had found her after she had encountered demons that actually obliterated her hometown. The second flashback that we have, about 1,000 years later, she is traveling with the hero party. The hero party is the party that managed to terminate the reign of the demon king. It's not relevant for this video specifically, let's just say that. The only thing that is important to remember here is that one of the party members, Himmel the hero, is actually the hero representation in the story. Interestingly enough, in the first timeline, she's traveling with her teacher. In the second timeline, she's traveling with her peers. And now in the current timeline, she is actually traveling with her pupils, which makes them more receptive to whatever she has to say, to be honest, which is not true necessarily for the humans who live in the town that they had traveled to. Okay, so here I'm gonna make a disclaimer. Unlike the show, it's not a certain species that all its members are gonna be a certain way. Every society has a percentage of people that are like that.
Came through this wall and we saw a lot of people, really a lot. They were like, I don't know, like beasts, like savage people. It was really scary to see all of this. We reached some house where we were already tied up, like hands like this. We were with some fabric on ice, and he came to us, took fabric, and he started to talk with us. Like, tomorrow, I will film you and I will kill you. Like, I was really afraid. It was probably the worst day in my life.
If only we had books and history and the people who are writing stuff to be aware of those things, but alas, because we are both short in our lifespan and short in our library collection. Wait, what? Oh, but people don't like reading or watching or studying. So short in knowledge and short in experience. And it's hard for us to understand and imagine what the demons are like, just like every time a human encounters a demon in this show. So the disclaimer is just because a society has a social structure that can make a certain phenomenon more common doesn't mean all people or even the majority of people are like that. But you only need a good, large enough minority, like we say, after 10% of Muslims, you start feeling the effects, when there are 5%, it's terror world, 10% is 20% is like, you're going to have a counter and terrorism in every nook and cranny in your country. And at 30, you're screwed. Anyway, so I want to make some notes about the technical details about people and creatures in this show. So there is a thing called mana, which is kind of a magical ability, and everybody has that. Humans, elves, demons. So humans have the shortest lifespan, but I think they have also the fastest spawn, so they tend to multiply faster, and they also have this ability to cooperate with each other. That helps them, I guess. Demons, on the other hand, have a medium lifespan versus elves that have the longest but are also the most solitary. The thing is that the longer you live, the more you can grow your magical power, which is called mana. And that is important because in the demon society, your status is actually measured by your mana. Just like the demons that have, superpowers, there is no way you keep them in jail because they're way too strong. The reason I said that jails are privileged is because if you have a critical number of them, think about the technical parts, right? How many guards do you need? How much space do you need? And then it has to be in a society where it's clear for everyone that these kind of people are not heroes and nobody would try to get them released. あの時より増えている。これほどの数を操るだなんて、魔族の魔法はとんでもないね。人類の魔法技術では想像もつかないほどの高みだ。でも最低に趣味の悪い魔法だ。ヘドが出る。Anyway, let's talk about the show. At some point during their travels, they arrive at a new town where Frieren notices that there are many guards around and senses some demons. She tries to kill them, only to be arrested by the city guards for threatening peace envoys. The leading demon asks the town's leader if he's trying to instigate something. He denies it, saying that he's not foolish enough to harm messengers of peace. The demon remarks how Frieren looks at him as if she's looking at a wild beast. She concurs with his remark, saying that demons are simply incomprehensible wild beasts that mimic human voices, making the demon smile.
That's my point, to tell people, to wake up people that, hey, these are not rational people. These are not normal people. By looking at their faces, you can evil in their faces.
And that is the message you want to get to the West and people about what's going on inside Iran and who these people are.
The reason the demons had sent a peace envoy to the city is apparently so that they could agree with the humans on some sort of a peace deal, because after 28 years of fighting, even the demons are tired of war. Or so they claim.
We want to live in peace. with all our neighbors, including the Israelis.
Anyway, that's it's like a pet peeve. I'm not going to go into it. Frieren is then thrown into the mentioned dungeon to serve a 2 to 3 year sentence. Oh, well, she's an elf. She lives for 1,000 years. So maybe she knows a thing or two. No, why ask question? Instead, oh, she's wrong. Let's put her in jail. What are you doing? You're not being nice. Who cares that all of your people were exterminated by those demons?
The public took it upon itself to rape, mutilate, and murder men, women, and children in the streets of Iran, and then dumping their bodies into the gutter. There was an international tribunal held for this in London on the 31st of September of 2022. During this time, Raisi, the deceased, was in the UN in New York, and he was the #1 perpetrator of all of those atrocities that were being named and recognized internationally by an international body, was still given diplomatic visa and impunity to go on a trip into the UN after killing Mahsa Amini while he was wanted in a court.
The butcher of Tehran.
The butcher of Tehran.
So it happens in the West, even in the best of families, somehow.
And it's a very big plan. It will be a suggestion between Israel and the Palestinians. It's the closest it's ever come, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, it is consistent with their lack of understanding of this area and kind of evilness that they show. When the town's leader leads the demon and his companions to his son's room, he tells him about his son and shows his son's sword that was bestowed upon him by the king. After the demon asks where his son is now, the leader tells him that he died in the war with Oury and thrusts the tip of the sword to point at the demon's head, while the guards also surround him. A demon girl companion gets ready to fire a spell, but the boss demon prevents her. The human leader angrily tells the demons that the only reason he allowed the demon envoy in was to get revenge for his son's death, and states that Oury's reconciliation can go to hell. The demon looks around the room and notes how it has been meticulously cleaned for the past 10 years and states that he also kept his father's room intact. He tells the human leader that his father was killed by humans in the same conflict. This placates the humans who are able to sympathize, and the demon asks them to negotiate. The humans state that he will give it some thought, and the demons are shown to the drawing room. On the way out, the demon girl asks what a father is, and the peace negotiating demon replies that he doesn't know. There is a reason those archetypes exist. It's a reflection of reality. Frieren and Stark visit Frieren in the dungeon and reveal a demon named Oury has recently regained her power and has been waging war against the city for 28 years. Frieren warns from experience that demons are incapable of being reasoned with, as it is futile to negotiate with terrorist demons, since they only learn human language as a way to deceive humans.
When before ISIS, the Islamic Republic, Qasem Soleimani and Quds Revolutionary Guards, they were in Syria. Why? They were killing civilians, ordinary people who were protesting against Bashar Assad. My heart is broken when I see that for years and years we have been warning the rest of the world, the democratic countries, that Khumeini and his gang of killers, they are not going to just stay in Syria. They're going to go everywhere.
So what happens is that Frieren, who is an ILR, already knows the shtick, tries to explain what it is going to be like to the other characters. And of course, you cannot learn unless you learn on your own skin. And before people get burned themselves, they do not understand what Frieren is talking about. Unfortunately, their children are probably going to forget again. If only they could write it somewhere. I know you want to trust them, but don't do it. Oh well, but their children would be like, what are you talking? Look at them. They just look just like us. They talk about family, even though they don't know what family is. And look how nice what they're saying is. And they learn to speak your language. How beautiful. Oh my God. Is there like correlation with Islam? Anyway, okay. Even in those societies, it's not going to be, but 30% being like that is a problem. Stark disagrees, saying it will be ideal for the matter to be resolved through negotiation. Frieren refutes him, saying it's futile because it won't be resolved. She calls demons man-eating monsters and recalls old memory of when she was traveling with the hero party.
そいつらが人類と同じ言葉を使う理由を考えたことはある。
That peace, real peace, far away of terrorism, of wars, for the sake of our new children.
And Now let's talk about the children that are made without love, that tend to be a bit more angry and violent. The hero party chases and stops an injured, childlike demon who ate the daughter of a villager. As Himmel is about to kill her, she starts bemoaning her wounds and calling for her mother, causing Himmel to hesitate. Frieren steps up to do the deed, but the village chief starts to sympathize with her and gives her a chance to atone. After all, how would they be different from the demons otherwise? What the virtuous village chief might have been thinking but didn't say is that the demon child did what she did because she didn't know better. All that was needed is for someone to step up and show her an alternative. With warmth and love, after all, who would want to constantly fight for their survival? Instead, by joining as productive members of society, they can live in a village without starving again. Thank you, village chief, for sharing your thoughts. And indeed, with time, she would show her gratitude and appreciation to his naivete, and shall seize the opportunity that was gifted to her to exploit his weakness. At least that was the vision that was playing in Frieren's mind. Frieren tells Himmel he will regret it if he doesn't kill her now. Himmel denies it, stating that she is able to talk to them. They stay in the village to see how things turn out. Yahya Sinwar, the man that had basically planned October 7th and had personally executed, murdered, tortured, beaten to death, how is it called? Strangled? Cut throat of other Palestinians, or, as I would say, Arabs, just because they, weren't their type. They were maybe gay, they were maybe not beautiful enough. And, and because of that, his favorite tactic is to tell, hey, they must be cooperating with Israel and get rid of them. Because those who actually cooperate with Israel, they are not the ones he would manage to get his hands on, believe me. And I really believe that he knows that. He just likes torturing and killing people. Kind of wonder if he got anyone that actually had anything to do with Israel. Probably not. Anyway, that sadistic, awful demon creature is incredibly smart, and he has very high EQ, emotional intelligence. He understands humans being, he understands the West, he understands Israelis in a way that is incredible, but is also unbelievably evil, a murderer. Keeping that kind of person in jail is a mistake, it's dangerous. In jail, he executed himself, his cellmates, other people. This person should not be kept behind bars. He should be unalived. That's the only way to take care of someone like Yahya Sinwar, who murders his own people the way he does. He tortures them. He enjoys it. His death, the way he kills, is the most brutal, unimaginable tactics. Let's not go too much into it. Some time passes with a demon girl living with a village chief and playing with his daughter. Then one night, she burns the chief's house and kills him. Oh, it's kind of scary. As Himmel unsheathes his sword, he cuts the demon's hand before she can take the chief's daughter hostage. But she used her demon logic, and she was like, okay, eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I took someone's child. I need to give her a child back. So who cares? It's not her child, but by any means necessary, she will repent. And she burned down the whole family except the little girl of that host family that adopted her, and took that little girl and was like, here, this is what you wanted, to the mother who she ate her child of. Why did she try to give her a child back? Easy. She tried to save herself from the imagined danger that mother posed. Just think, what would a demon do to someone that they didn't like and took something away from them? Well, clearly the mother was on guard and she didn't like that demon. So fixing up a new toy for the mother is a reasonable price to pay for a threat removal. Yes, she miscalculated. It definitely backfired. A rookie mistake. The real scary demons are the smart ones. Frieren blessed the demon right after she calls for her mother once again. Frieren states that, like monsters, demons have no custom of raising children. The concept of family does not exist. But, and of course there are kids who are born like that and they have an amazingly loving mothers and it's just biological and whatever, it's just things happen. She asks the demon why she uses the word mother then. The demon replies that saying it prevents her from being killed. Like I said, unlike the show where you have a species called demons that 100% of them are like that, in reality, we all have them. Some societies just have more of them. The lack of motherly love doesn't help reduce this number. Just as Frieren predicted, the demon peace envoy are simply there to trick the city into lowering its barrier so Oury, the main evil demon, can race it with her army. With their plot exposed, the demons that were leading the peace talks captured the city's leader with the intention of forcing him to disable the city's barrier. What are we learning here? I feel like there is a lesson here to be learned. I don't know what it is. The heroic, correct thing is to remember that those who butcher and murder their own people and murder us are gonna go back to doing that, and there should not be mercy, and actually not taking care of them in time is the worst human crime, or how is it called, like humanity crime against humanity. Is the word crime against humanity that you can commit. Anyway, continuing this timeline, same story. They are trying to play along, say, yes, we have improved, we're gonna work in high-tech now, we just need some money to rebuild our cities, we just need your help, and please take us to work with you, and please accept us to work in your farms and your villages. It's not so that we would know exactly where you keep what and what to attack first and how to butcher children. No. It's so that we would be able to move on. This is why we are doing it. And so this is what the demons have said. But of course, all they wanted is to find a way to remove the defenses of the human village that they were planning to attack. Showing the demons to be somehow redeemed after all they do would set a complete misreading, misrepresentation, and dangerous ideas in our minds, because that is not how it works. It's not how it works. And it's time that we woke up from those delusions that living in corrected Western society after years and years and decades and centuries of fighting had led us to believe. There is a line of argumentation that became pretty popular online asking what's the difference between Frieren, who knows her, has her experience and is kind of cruel towards the demons, and the demons. What makes them different? Well, here's a segment of a person that is thinking that way, and I want to answer that because I feel that this question comes out in a very different context, but a very similar context from time to time.
Again, if I was in that world, I'd probably have to employ some dehumanization to ensure my own survival. For Frieren to be this brutal and unfeeling is obvious. With more than 1,000 years of battle experience, she will never see demons as anything more than a virus. She cannot be negotiated or reasoned with. She is to demons exactly what demons are to her. And I actually just made a video where I brought the words of the Rabbi Oury, so I'm going to let him answer that question.
הרי הם באמת מפלצות, שלא, כל הזמן אומרים לנו...
What about that claim, okay, we don't want to be like they are, because they really are monsters. We don't want to be monsters like they are.
אתם כמוהם, אתם... הם אוהבים לשפוך דם, הם אוהבים אכזריות. ואנחנו לא אוהבים.
So the difference is pretty simple. They love spilling blood. They love being cruel. We don't enjoy it. That's it.
Which is why the village chief brings up that question.
これでは魔族と同じだな。
I'm going to ask a controversial question. How exactly is Frieren different from demons? She's also a solitary creature. She's pretty indifferent about relationships and family life. She's able to use demon spells and is shown to have no problems with killing or deception. If the only difference between her and demons is the targets that they choose to attack, I don't think she has any moral high ground to stand on.
Yahya Sinwar is the one person that has been quoted, and CNN had showed, CNN, they hate Israel more than, I don't know, anything more than life itself. So they clearly don't love life. They kind of celebrate those who celebrate life. Anyway, admitted, like they had the decency to say, hey, Yahya Sinwar, it's not only that they use human shields. He wants as many civilians as possible to die, Gazans, for the purpose of the war. His goal is to kill as many civilians as possible so that he would stay alive. But if he has to, he can pretend to be super funny and nice and cute. Believe me, he is nothing of the sorts. Now tell me, what is that if not a demon? So here's the difference. Frieren doesn't enjoy it. Frieren doesn't go around and randomly or, ideologically based takes care. No. She just knows what's in front of her. She doesn't want unnecessary deaths, and she has no mercy for those who don't deserve it. Because if you feel mercy for the cruel, you end up being cruel to those who actually deserve your mercy. I don't need to go round and round, right? At this point, we understand what am I talking about? What do I mean when I say demons? And Yahya Sinwar and his mini Yahya Sinwars, we have all the Nukhba fighters and everything that they did on October 7th. Basically the same. And the jail thing is a big mistake, because that was the vulnerability Israel had, where they disencouraged, right? If you keep people like that in jail, and this is what happens even in the Nukhba fighters, stuff like that, it encourages to kidnap our own civilians by Hamas and, PLO, and they're all the same, like other terrorist organizations, to try to get those kind of people back. The people that, like, if you turn around and act not in a way they appreciate, they would get rid of you in an instant, which makes it amazing that this is the kind of people they admire. And if you guys want a video about all the atrocities this deplorable man had committed, that would be a very, very long series, because he killed so many. And at least thousands in Gaza now, they don't care. This is Gazans. This is strong minority in Gaza. Israel cannot put them all in jail. Definitely a privilege. Privilege that really Israel should finally understand it cannot afford. So this is the basic, very simple difference, because, I don't know, Frieren for some reason gets the same criticism as IDF does.
I guess that's why Himmel is nicknamed Himmel the hero, and Frieren is Frieren the slayer.
Himmel, the hero, has blood on his hands. That family that was burned down? Yeah. He could have stopped that if he did the right thing in time.
Again, not trying to be demon sympathist trend. I just have a tendency to look at both sides of the conflict.
Not this one, Khumeini's Fatwa. There's a video, which I still get goosebumps when I listen to that. He says that when Islam is in danger, we can kill Muslims if they are on our way. So what does it mean? It means that they don't care about the lives of Palestinians. They don't care about the lives of Iranians. They don't care about the lives of Syrians.
It's obvious that the conflict between the two sides is not an ideological one, but an existential one.
And in our case, of course, it's also ideologically based. So how sweet and nice and even worse that is.
These two sides cannot coexist in harmony. So the one that can eradicate the other will be the winner. For demons and Frieren, that concept is understood. For humans, it's a bit tricky, especially since their society has a Christian-like religion that promotes kindness, mercy, atonement, and redemption.
And that can only function in a society where those kind of people are a neglectable minority.
הנרטיב הנוצרי אומר שהערך המוסרי היחיד בעולם הוא החמלה.
The Christian narrative says that the only moral virtue in the world is compassion.
ואז יוצא שכל מה שאתה עושה, הפעלת הכוח לשם השגת הצדק, זה נחשב לרע הכרחי.
So when it comes to, you using force in order to achieve justice, that is considered a must do evil.
ואנחנו לא חושבים כך, אנחנו מדברים על ייחוד המידות, אחדות הערכים.
But Judaism doesn't see it that way. Like, I'm gonna butt in and because basically, bottom line, there is morality in using force for achieving justice. It's not that it's, okay, necessary evil. It's that it is the moral thing to do.
ועשיית הצדק זה חלק מעשייה המוסרית.
אבל אתה יודע, בהקשר הזה יש לי הרבה פעמים ויכוח עם אנשים בשמאל, חילונים או פרוגרסיביים, ואני שואל אותם, במה אתה יהודי? אז הם אומרים לי, ואהבת לרעך כמוך. די.
But then it says, well, when I challenge people who think that way, like in the more Christian manner, and I say, like, what's Jewish about it? And say, like, they quote the love your the neighbor the way you love yourself. I don't know how it's in English, but ואהבת לרעך כמוך.
בוודאי, כלומר, תנועת הנפש של השמאל היא תנועת נפש יהודית, תזכור דבר אחד.
Then the rabbi says, yes, of course, this element is Jewish, right? But
היחידים שעומדים בדרישות של המוסר הנוצרי באמת זה היהודים, הם המציאו את זה.
Right. He says, like, first of all, like, those who made up and invented the Christian value system were Jews, right? So they, of course, they are the ones who actually live by that morality that is now Christian. The thing is, and I'm gonna go ahead a little bit, I'm guessing that the rabbi is gonna say something similar, is that in Judaism, that doesn't stop there, right? It doesn't stop at just love, compassion, and love with your enemy and love your neighbors. Definitely not love your enemy. But it is Jewish in a sense that it's a stripped down Judaism, just take away, like, remove other moral aspects of Judaism, and then you get that more sellable slogan type, nicely chewed, pretty bow kind of situation. But that's taken away the responsibility of doing the things that are unpleasant. But because sometimes you have to do also some things that are unpleasant. And that is also moral. It's also moral. Sometimes doing the moral thing is not going to be fun. It's not going to be compassionate, and it's going to be hard and painful. And it's gonna include inflicting.
אז לכן אין פלא שהנטייה הנפשית הזאת היא ראויה לשבח במידה רבה, רק שהיא מתנגדת לאמת המוסרית.
So there is no doubt, the rabbi is now saying that this kind of thinking does deserve praise, but it goes against the moral truth.
Himmel too follows a clear code of honor to preserve his image as a hero, which caused him to pay the price for it.
There is no heroism in not getting the job done. That's life, that's reality, let's face it. So what's the problem? What do demons eat? How do they get their food? They don't want to work for it. They're not going to be farmers. They're just going to go ahead and take it from others. So it's either they're going to take it from the lower demons that are weaker than them. They're just going to take it from them. And those demons are a lot of times would cooperate with, because they compare sizes. The demon above you is like, okay, he has a bigger one. So you give them a part, like as much as food as they're asking for, but enough for you to survive. And then you do it to those demons that are beneath you, and so on and so forth. The problem is that it's obviously a pyramid scheme somewhere. Somewhere someone has to actually work the ground. So there are the two options, right? You either have a demon slave class that you are forcing to work, or you go and take it from others. So you either go and raid a human village every time you are ran out of supplies and gold and whatever you need, or you hold a slavery system, like a slavery class that does all the work for you.
So what actually breaks my heart, that Khumeini even is good to mobilize other dictators, other authoritarian regimes, without having common ideology. Putin, Maduro,
even Hamas,
China.
Sunni.
Yeah, they don't have anything in common when it comes to ideology. So that's why I say survival and ideology. For their own survival, dictators need each other. That's why when you see all the authoritarian regimes all over the world, they're backing each other. Different way, technology, surveillance. At the United Nations, voting for each other, backing each other, supporting each other. Transnational repression, they're supporting each other. They give military actions, economic, anything that you see these dictators, they're filling the dots, they're filling the gap, they're supporting each other, they teach each other how to evade sanctions. So for that, they only care about power, stay in power, survival. They support each other, they have each other. For ideology, they oppress women inside, they go after proxies, like Houthi in Yemen, like Hamas, like Hezbollah. So in my opinion, it's both. And that's why they're winning, because they're really good at propaganda war as well. It breaks my heart when I see that here. Like my girls,
Here in New York.
It breaks my heart wearing kufi, chapia.
It's like those demons, they understand the jargon, who is oppressed, who is the oppressive, and according to that, they adjust their speech. So if it's a world where humans appreciate human rights, they're gonna be, oh, but we are so oppressed, and we believe in human rights, and slavery is wrong. And then after that, like if they take over, they're gonna enslave you anyway. But they say what they have to say, those are the demons we're talking about here. In those societies, there is less trust. There is no cooperation, no real cooperation. Structures are breaking down, right? The reason we have such an advanced society is that we managed to create some system that millions of people can work together. And the reason that we can do that is because there is some sort of trust in the system. You can be a doctor and trust that you don't have to work the land and provide your own food because someone will do it. And then there is a whole supply chain of food, so that you would get it. In a society that is power-based, you have to, this is what in the USSR, this is how my mother grew up. 50% of every day was around getting food, was around scraping food, was around finding where the next meal would come from. This is something that once you have a structure and a system, and not everybody is looking just to take away from others kind of society, then you take it for granted, right? You can trust the farmers in Libya, the sailors from India, and the phosphors from Jordan, and everything to work together so that you would have food on your table. Luckily, they had one smart elf there that actually saved them from, going extinct again. In a flashback to 1,000 years ago, Flem, a human mage and Frieren's former teacher, comes across a destroyed elf village and fights Frieren, the only survivor, having managed to kill the demon general attacking her. After taking Frieren under her wing, Flem then guides her through the intricacies of the demon society. The demon society is a loveless society and a power-based society. So how you get a power-based society, which is purely power-based, is what I covered in What is Amalek, where I explained the value system that creates a power-based society. And a loveless society is what I talked about in my previous video about mother's love and how you take that away and then you create a loveless society. So what's the difference between power-based society and a loveless society? Well, the difference is whether you view woman as commodity or not.
The first and biggest enemy of the Islamic Republic and their ideology that they're spreading throughout the Middle East and the rest of the world is a free living woman, is a woman existing in her own presence, in her own choice. They don't know what her choices are, so they would decide to kill her.
Once women are viewed as commodity, which is very easy and logical step forward in power-based society that are based on raw strength, because women are weaker, they are less than automatically just because their physique is smaller. That means they become a commodity, just like children are weaker and they cannot resist, so they are a commodity too. Or there is a tendency to marry people and both genders are powerless in that sense, where the only thing that matters is the accommodation of wealth, and then both males and females are being forced to situations they don't want to be in. And that is when you move from power-based society to loveless society.
そして魔力の低い連中に尊厳が与えられるほど魔族の世界は甘くない。
And that is why we see a lot of loveless situations in royalty. That combination of loveless society with power-based structures are deadly, to say the least. And this is where you get a whole society that is demon-like. So the percentage of demons in that society is pretty high, and there are humans that are born here and there in between. Somehow they manage to keep that humanity in them. So they don't understand love. They don't know what love is. They understand and view others as tools, their own children as tools, their spouses as tools. Everything is very interest-based like that. Since demons are proud and self-confident in their own magic and are incapable of suppressing their own mana, Flem explains that by suppressing their mana, they can trick demons into feeling a false sense of security where they can be destroyed in a surprise attack. In the present, Oury uses the scales of obedience, but is horrified when Frieren shows the true extent of her mana. Oury is dominated by Frieren, and she is forced to behave herself under Frieren's order. What we can see is that demons don't understand love, but they can still cooperate with each other on a minimal basis. And that's how they do it is very easy. Every time they are encountering another demon, all they have to do is compare sizes. The one that has bigger, then they are the ones who are deciding, who are on top, who are those who make the tone, who say what's happening. Of course, when I say compare sizes, I meant the mana that they have in that demon society. This is the measurement they use. So in a way, it might look like they're even more well-structured than human society when people are arguing about the best way to do something or are thinking together, or you have someone who would be like, go against the chief because they're like, no, I have a better idea. But on the other hand, you get a society that doesn't understand that this can also be a disadvantage because you're not hiding how powerful you are. You can be easily fooled because everything is straightforward. You can be fooled. Or a special power is, Oury is the demon that leads the demon army, for those who didn't remember, is that she can measure your size, you can, without pulling out. She can actually measure the size with her size measurement scales that she has there that are very special. You just have to take the scales out and they can tell whose mana is bigger without having to go with a ruler and stuff like that. Very convenient. And whoever has the bigger one has to obey the other. Of course, like Frieren's teacher predicted, Oury wouldn't imagine a situation when somebody is a grower and not a shower because, well, the bigger the better, right? The problem with humans is, of course, that unlike demons, just pulling out and seeing who is the bigger one is not very effective because we are, unlike this fantasy world, we all have around the same size, especially compared to like how it's structured in fantasy world, where it's one demon is an atom bomb and another demon is like toddler. Humans, even the difference between man and woman is not the difference between, it's the difference between rifle and a gun. So it makes it a bit harder. So what happens if all the slaves work together against you? Then they're gonna beat up the upper layer because the upper layer has to be, by definition, thinner. And so you have a rebellion and you just turn around the pyramid, and those who used to be slaves are now at the top, and those who used to be the upper part of the pyramid turned into slave. And this is the part that triggers so many woksters that I've seen online, of course, is because once Oury loses and is forced to listen to Frieren commands her to end herself. I think it's beautifully done, really. She doesn't have to dirty her hands, and the deed is done. What's better than that? But a lot of woksters don't like that part. Well, sorry for you people. She deserved it. All the army behind her, yeah, those are dead soldiers that she's controlling. So you can see that she didn't have any mercy for anyone. And the fact that our world is so confused right now, that there are so many woksters online who are like, how cruel! That really explains a lot, really. It does. It does. And everybody is living in a delusion that they're going to be the masters. This is how it's kept alive. Like you sell the idea, you sell, like this is a pyramid scheme. This is how pyramid schemes work. You always sell the idea that you can be the master, that you can be the one that enslaves and not a slave. The slavery part, like those who are slaves, you have to categorize them as kuffars, as dhimmis, as somebody who are naturally beneath you, right? Naturally, like something is different about them, they're naturally beneath you. Until they realize that this game was played on them and they're like deciding, hey, how about we decide that those who have that other characteristics that say that like this makes us slaves, what about if we turn it around? Oh, not that hard. Of course, the problem is that you cannot achieve anything as humans, as humanity, or get in a place where you actually progress. And this is why, even though it didn't take us that, like we managed to spread all over the world, society didn't even grow. Like we were stagnant for so long because of that kind of loop that we were in, right? That pyramid scheme, slavery scheme kind of loop. We grew enough, like we managed to reach every corner on earth. And then those population, they didn't manage to grow. Like they reached a certain number, and like the Babylon Tower, it collapsed, right? They reached a certain number and it collapsed. It reached because those were always pyramid schemes, and pyramid schemes have to collapse. The only reason our population grew the way it did is because we learned a new structure. What if we change the structure, and instead of having a pyramid scheme, we've decided that we are now preaching for love, that all humans were created equal in the eyes of God, and that there is equality before the law, that who we are is based on our merit and our actions, and not how much we can lift. And that there is a lot more than just one power-based. It's not only who can lift the most that is deciding. It's not only the one who is the smartest that is the most important. It's also those who are the most kind, those who are the most loving, there are so many niches in society that have to be filled, that there are so many roles to play, that we have to cooperate. Nobody's going to be good at every aspect, and nobody can dominate all of those hierarchical structures if the power and the value system changes to not just, okay, who's the one that is, if you put everybody in a room and the one that comes out alive, this is the person that is the most valuable. No, that's not how it works. This is when we start seeing this incredible progress. This is when we started seeing population growth. This is when we start seeing that humanity is prosperous, that we can feed, nobody's starving. We eliminated starvation. We took care of the great amount of the diseases. People live to be way older than what they used to. If we forget that, and we both go back to structures where it's who's bigger, then the structure that we're going to go back and collapse. And it's going to be a pyramid scheme that will break down, and society will just stagnate, and there would be no scientific progress. There would be no future for anyone, because one day you're at the top and the next day you are going to be at the bottom. So let's think about that and appreciate what we have. And those people who have turned into demons, there is nothing you can do about them. They're just demons. That's it. They're just... the amount of work you have to put in to turn them into humans is unrealistic, especially if they have reached a certain amount of. The only way you can do that is that to make sure that they understand that they cannot pull anything against you, that they are completely submitted, and that you would teach their children that people were created in God's image equally, and we're all equal in front of the law, and there is merit in different skill sets, and there is a place for everyone. And we need to learn how to cooperate and debate and discuss and disagree and have those skills. If you don't do that, then humanity is doomed. Like, comment, subscribe. I have a Buy Me Coffee link below if you guys want to support me. That really, really helps. Your donations really, really help if you guys want to support my channel. This is what keeps me going. So thank you so much, and see you later.